How is everyone? Welcome to Wednesday meditation. Once again, I think Wednesday is one of the best days of the week. I mean, I say this often, but I think that there's some people in the room that have never heard me talk about it. I did a whole experiment around it because you know how Wednesday kind of has a bit of a bad rap. It's called hump day. It's like the most challenging day of the week and people struggle through Wednesday. And I started to really contemplate that whole concept and began to compare it to the concept of oneness and universal consciousness and the fact that everything is vibrating a living experience, or everything is the same being, all vibrating at different levels. And why would Wednesday be any different? So when we are hard on Wednesday, well, of course, then that's the relationship that we're going to get back from Wednesday. And I really took it upon myself to give a little bit of love, give a little bit of juice to Wednesday and see what happens. And really, Wednesday became my favorite day for a number of different reasons. So it became this whole idea of Wednesday for the lovers of Wednesday yoga. Wednesday was always like a bit of a slower day in the yoga center, and I decided that's it. This is going to be the best day ever. And it really became the best day ever for me and also other people. So it's a worthwhile experience and experiment to give Wednesday a little bit of love. And what better way to give love to your Wednesday than to have a meditation? I mean, every day is meditation day, but Wednesday is our meetup day, which is really great. So here we are once again. Some of you are returning back, and others of you, this is your first time to Wednesday meditation. So the beginning part of Wednesday meditation is a talk, and I generally have a few things to say, but I would also like to hear what you have to say. Meditation is one of those topics that tends to have quite a few questions. So if you have questions, now is the time. If you notice that there's a camera here, it's because we live stream the meditation, so there's people all over the place who are actually also a part of this meditation experience. So this is why. So hello, and welcome to Wednesday meditation. In my own personal experiences of meditation lately, I've been watching the tendency of the mind. And often as you go deeper into your meditative experience, you let go of a lot of that mental activity. It becomes background to the point of not even existent or even disturbing. But in my own personal experience, I've decided to go into that a little bit more and see what is there. Because for a large part of a meditation practice, actually that is the experience that is occurring. You're not necessarily having a mystical experience yet. You're having an opportunity to sit and watch the contents of your mind. And within the watching of the content within your mind, you get an opportunity to really explore and examine what it is and why it is there. And we all have these two sides. So one side is there's an incredible amount of practical information that is occurring from the experience of your mind. But the other side is almost a concept of noise. It's a distraction. So from a meditator's perspective, we want to begin to discern between what is really practical and useful and what is considered to be just a little bit too much noise. But where it gets really interesting is when you start to ask the question, why? Why am I or anybody considering one side of it to be practical and the other side to be noise? What is so noisy about this side? And through a examination of the world around you and your own personal behaviors in relationship to the behaviors of the people around you, you can really begin to see that there is some logic in the noisy aspect of our thought process. Generally, what is considered to be noise is actually the most important part of the content which is coming from the mind. It's generally those parts that you really need to move on and do, but you are not necessarily moving fast enough. Or there's that procrastination piece, or there's the doubt component, or the fear component, or not having the best self-image component. So it seems that what we're considering to be a little bit noisy is the pieces of ourselves that are in the deficit. So on the journey of becoming this whole and complete person, we ideally are not categorizing it as being positive, negative, but we're seeing it as a whole piece of experience that needs attention. But not just any attention, because we give the mind ample amounts of attention. From asking it to be quiet, to asking it to speak up, to searching for an answer of some sort. And what we want to begin to develop in the practice of meditation is how to see all as being sacred, all as being special, all as being important, and all as having meaning. And if we can get to really understanding how the content of the mind is meaningful and has a presence in our life, then we are tuning our listening skills to the next level. And that's a huge part of any wisdom tradition, is learning how to listen, because everything is already there. This is the magnificent concept of oneness. It is all in front of us. Every concept and every answer is there. So to scale it, no longer needing to go into the world for the search of this vital information, but scaling it back to your personal experience. The personal experience that is occurring inside of you. And beginning to listen to those thought movements that are occurring, and ideally acting accordingly. Because if we can start to develop a very clear plan as to how we're going to engage with the mind, then all of a sudden we become a walking, talking, sleeping, social 24-hour meditative experience. Because these actions that you are engaging on your waking daily schedule is actually supporting the calm and relaxation component within your meditation. And the more relaxed and calm the mind becomes, the greater potential the individual has to have the mystical experience, to have the aha moments. So it's developing a lifestyle around your personal pursuit, your personal path of self-development, self-inquiry, and then ultimately self-realization. And meditation is a great avenue to developing that piece. But what it is poised to receive is your attention. And not just any attention, but a very specific kind of attention. And that attention is cultivated by you through listening to the subtleties of your body, the subtle senses and sensory experiences within your body. For instance, what does it say to you right now as you sit and listen to these words? How can you then posture your body in order to receive the sensation that much more clearly? How can you soften yourself within that pose in order to be acutely receptive? And not just receptive to what is being experienced in the immediate, but then those moments afterwards when you've realized now what it is that you are experiencing. So what is the next step to that which you are experiencing? So the process of meditation is to go deeper and deeper, which means you are becoming increasingly more subtle. Increasingly more subtle means that the thought formation that is going through your mind has a direct connection to your breathing rhythm and a direct connection to the nervous system and the sensory experience that you're having. So as you drop deeper into the sensations of your body, you're actually allowing for a deepening examination within your mind. Because the deepening of the examination of the mind is existing, that means that your breathing rhythm has now just become increasingly more relaxed, which has an incredibly positive effect on you physically, on you chemically, on you mentally, on you emotionally. So you can see now, through one simple application of your attention to the sensations within the body, you are now affecting the whole experience of the human being. Now from that place, taking the breathing to an experience where it can become absolutely natural. And that's where we're going to begin to experience seeing the mind as a whole and complete process of information, rather than compartmentalizing them into this is positive, usable information and this is now my noise. Because what happens when we allow the breath to become absolutely natural is that the breath begins to work with the rhythms of the mind. So for every thought formation, there's going to be an equal breathing pattern, and for every breathing pattern, there's going to be a thought formation that is arising. So when we allow the breathing to become very natural and rhythmic, the thoughts begin to move like waves. And as they begin to move like waves, they're actually becoming succinct to the sensation within the body. So now the sensation of the body and the image within the mind are becoming one. So the body-mind connection is being realized. So now there's not this disconnect between the sensations that I feel within my body and the thoughts that I'm experiencing within my mind. They're actually congruent. And now there is a looping system that is supporting the congruency, which is your breathing. Now the training ground for that relationship is your meditation practice when you allow your breathing to become natural. In its natural state, it's going to increase in relaxation. Because that's what it will do. If the body starts to relax, the breath follows. If the breath is following, then the mind becomes relaxed. And then the root experiences of those images, of those thoughts, then present themselves to you. So you become very attuned to why those thoughts are so practical and needed. And you become attuned to the root causes as to why those thoughts are so noisy and distracting. And now you can act on the base level vibration of those experiences, which is the reality. The reality of what it is, rather than the flowering of what it's attempting to show you, so that then you will listen. So the mind gets incredibly creative, which then starts to manifest in the body and in the rest of your life as interesting experiences, exciting moments. Sometimes excitement gets way too exciting. Sometimes interesting is just too interesting. It's almost best to catch it at its root, so that then the actions that you're making are so big and strong. One subtle movement from the base has a huge swath of movement at the top where it's becoming so flowery. Does this make sense? So one subtle movement within your meditation creates a huge swath of movement within your day-to-day running of your life. So it's this whole concept of your consciousness going from being this big, tiny little space, this is your world, to slowly but inevitably beginning to grow and saying, wait a minute, I have so much room, I have so much space, I have so much understanding. I'm able to access myself, the self. So the most authentic experience of who you are is now able to create a voice for itself. And then we begin to use the mind as a tool rather than as a hindrance. So if the mind is noisy, if the mind is distracted, the only reason why the mind will ever become that is because we have not been taught, or we've not been put in place the proper tools to listen to it. We have an incredible in point for all of our thoughts, but our out point is so incredibly small. So there's a loop that keeps going around and around and around. This out point is the listening, is the accepting, and is the action. So for this noisy bit of our mind, the action becomes a little bit difficult because there's such a physical response, right? The heart rate increases. The arms start to sweat a little bit. All these physical responses that deter an individual from taking those next steps. But what I'm saying is that this is actually the road to an individual's liberation, is actually acting on those steps, or becoming very discerning as to whether or not they're real. So is it really for you to act on, or is it for you to let go of? And that's an important component, because that is a part of the looping system of the human mind. We don't know. And because we don't know, we're continuously in a place of fear and lack. Where, I don't know, I don't have the answer. But who better to have the answer than you? You are actually the one living this experience. We've orchestrated and constructed a society experience that says, go outside here and you will find the answer. But really, it's inside here that you'll find the answer. Within yourself, you actually find the answer. And then you use the tool of the outside world in order to develop the answer that you've understood from the inside. But we've taken it the other way around. We've gone outside to find the answer, and now we attempt to bring it back in, which is very, very challenging because we don't have the infrastructure in place yet on the inside to process it. We do for a specific area that we've developed that we've called productive or pointed or positive mind. But this other part that we are not so into, there's no framework. So in order to become a whole and complete human being, we need both sides in order to be vibrating at the same level. So when we take our meditation into the mental experience, the practice of a meditator is then to see the space that exists within the mind. supported by the vibration of the body and its sensation, supported by the rhythm of your breathing. So your body and your breath become the perfect environment for this mind to rest into. And the more the mind can become restful, the more we're able to embody the experience of the mind. The more we're able to embody the experience of the mind, the less the mind is this abstract concept. And the more real and tangible it becomes as something that we can work with and understand. So using your breathing and using the subtle sensations within your body, you begin to watch and recognize the space within the mind. That space within your mind is completely and utterly connected to universal consciousness. It's one and the same thing. So you have access through that quality of space within your mind into all that you call consciousness. All that is conscious, but all that is subconscious as well. Because as you peer into the mind, the space that exists there, the eternal expression that is there, one part you say, I recognize this. You see it every night before you go to sleep. You see it every morning when you wake up. You see it every time just before you have a thought and just after you have a thought. So you know exactly what it is and what I'm talking about. But the other side of that is that you have no clue what it is. We have no clue what it is as a human species. And that's the subconscious activity that is constantly going and supporting the conscious activity. So the process of practice for a meditator is to take the unconscious and expand the conscious into the unconscious, so that we are really pushing the boundaries of this known-unknown reality and creating a known experience, which then becomes the wisdom that you're looking for, the insight that you need, the direction that is desired. It becomes that because you are engaging with it. Everything and anything is possible if you place your attention there. But because we have become so distracted through choices, we lose our ability to actually focus on one thing long enough in order to get a result. And this is the genius of the practice of meditation, is that it teaches you how to focus your mind on a single point, a single subject, for an extended period of time so that you then may get results. And that single point of focus then can be applied to everything that you're doing. There's no bias, there's no prejudice there. Everything that you're doing. So from the one, then you can create them all. So the flickering of the TV is showing you so many things. The flickering of your computer is showing you so many things, which is great. I'm not saying let go of any of that. But what I'm saying is that as you mature in your meditation practice, you are taking the necessary time in order to focus your mind so that you are gaining the results that you wish to achieve. And that is amazing. The final point of this particular meditation practice is to engage within the very stuff that is filling the space. What is filling the space? When you see it, you see something that's moving there. Maybe you see a little green light, or a little pink light, or a little white-colored light, flickering, flashing, or maybe you see many things, or maybe you see nothing at all, but there's a constant movement that is occurring. So within that space, what is that? This is, in a sense, the dynamic expression of the stillness. what is manifesting from that place. It is legitimately everything. Everything comes from that dynamic stillness that fills the space, that becomes the mind, that engages the breath, that is all the sensations that you feel within your body. So that becomes the direction. And if there's any truth to any of what the wisdom tradition has been saying for thousands of years, that you are one and that there is a self, then you as a conscious being are going there no matter what. And the more you focus and concentrate your mind on that very stuff where all things come from, it becomes the direction that you need. The direction that you need. So it's the concept of knowing exactly where you're going, but not knowing where that is. Which, when you hear it at first, it defies your logic that says, well, I need to know exactly where I'm going. But if you just rest into that expression for a moment and be truthful with yourself, the reality is that you don't really know where you're going at all. You know as far as you can see or as far as you're being shown, and beyond that, it's a complete and beautiful mystery. And what surfaces is an element of fear. This fear of the unknown is a root for all of the other interesting sensations and mind manifestations that are created that you're calling distraction. So to become comfortable with it in a safe environment, in the closed lids of your meditation, and wrapped in the beauty of yourself, you can explore the very topics, the very patterns, the very sensations that are holding you in your bondage. Because ultimately, this is what meditation is doing, is it's liberating you. It's freeing you from your anxiety to the final exam that you're going to be writing, or liberating you from the intensity of going and have that meeting with your boss, or asking this guy or girl out on a date. So all of these really practical, mundane things, it's actually unhinging and letting you go free. But all of these little movements are little movements which are connected to a larger arcing movement of liberation and freedom, which you may or may not be paying attention to. You don't have to pay attention to it. All you have to be interested in is what you're interested in. Why do anything else? Why be anything else? Become exactly who you are when you are that, and leave the rest. Because inevitably you will become everything over a matter of time. So to enjoy what you have now, because it's not going to last. Even if you don't really like it, when you look back, you're going to be like, I remember when. And it becomes this incredible story. And that's what gives you your wisdom. That's what gives you your old man or old woman stripes. You know, the wrinkles that went exactly like that was from this time. And they look so great now. So to become comfortable with who you are when you are that is then to soften it all and release you from the discomfort, making you a part of a process that has been here since the beginning of humanity. And I know I'm going deep and I'm going far out there, but it's true. When humanity began is when this process started. And we are just a continuation of a continuation of a continuation of a family tree. Genetics being passed down, patterns being developed and released, continuing until we are here and now. And now you have the opportunity to do the work, which then you'll get past will be then passed down in one way or another to that next generation. And this is an example of reincarnation. We are reincarnating not just as souls in and out of bodies, but as information that is continuously being passed down, passed on, passed through individuals like ourselves. So the work that we have, if we want to look at it as a spiritual practice, is the work on ourselves. So what you feel inside yourself, anything that is small and not very strong, that's what you must rise to the occasion. No longer should you ever push it down. You should actually bolster it up. Say, hello, I see you. So imagine what happens when someone actually sees you. Something huge happens inside. So that little piece that you're attempting to say, not right now, not right now. I have to talk to this person, not right now. But you actually bring to the occasion and start to invite that part of you into the conversation as your arms are doing what they're doing and as your heart rate is doing what it's doing. But you're bolstered, you're supported by yourself, with yourself, as being the wiser, the stronger, saying it is okay, which is all accessed through your quiet time of sitting and closing your eyes and getting to know the complete range of your sensation, the complete range of the rhythms of your breathing, the complete depth of the space within your mind and the stillness that fills that space. What rises and falls within that is special. It is specific, and it is for you. It is your spiritual experience happening. It is happening. Any questions? Comments? Yes. One moment. Maybe we can get so that then everyone who's listening can hear it. Yeah, you got it. It's gonna go to the camera
Is it
world.
on?
Yeah.
In observing the mind, I feel very focused on the brain.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why to think of the mind as being located in the brain?
Well, is there any reason? There's not necessarily a reason per se, other than you're interested in it. And that's where you find the most logic, that the mind is in the brain. So why not keep it like that?
Well, as an experiment, I was trying to envision the mind elsewhere. Like,
Yeah.
what if it was in my
Your-
chest or my feet? Like,
Yeah.
it's a funny thing.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that it is non-local. There's no one place or space that the mind is. It is everywhere. It extends past your body and your magnetic field, like all over the place. It is everywhere. And I think that that's a beautiful process to go through, is to ask that question, well, where is the mind? So if you can actually feel the mind in your chest, because you can, you see your rib cage, you see your lungs, you see your heartbeat, you see the blood flowing through you. So that's all expressions of the mind, which is really incredible. And now it's hinting towards the potential and power that exists within the mind. So the whole concept of visualization and thinking positively, and the impact that that has on the rest of your personal body, but also the world around you. So if the mind is non-local and it's just everywhere in the matrix of experience, then that becomes a huge thing. And I know for a fact that Many people feel that, well, the contents of their mind is just a personal experience and nobody else knows, but actually everybody knows everything. Which is intense when you really look at that. And beautiful at the same time. Because every thought that you have, you can be guaranteed that there's thousands, potentially even hundreds of thousands of people having that same thought, potentially even at the same time. Do you want to go further?
No, I like that.
Yeah. Good question. Any other comments or questions? Luke, I see you having some movement back there.
So I've been paying attention to when my thoughts are coming up, and you just spoke to that, but just before they come up and just after. And then I catch that I'm actually paying attention to this little story that's there, and then I sort of feel the weight of it and the experience of it for what it was. And then I started asking myself, where is it coming from? Not the specific details of that thought, the story of it, but the actual weight of it, the substance of that thought, where does it come from? And when I try to follow it back to its root, it suddenly is not there. So I'm now wondering, where are these thoughts actually coming from?
This is a great question. It's a really good question to ask yourself. Where are they coming from? And if you keep asking the question and inquiring inwardly, so a part of your meditation is this stilling of the mind to the point where there's nothing happening. But another part of a meditation practice is contemplation. So maybe at that stage of your meditation, your eyes are open, and maybe you're looking at a single symbol or whatever it may be, and you are actively engaging. Where is it coming from? Not in an aggressive, forceful way, searching, but in a very passive way. So it disappears. Where does it go? And ask the question, where does it go? But not rushing towards the answer, but waiting for the answer to come to you. So this is contemplation. This is a component of meditation.
You've given us a practice at the end of our meditations to focus on that one point there in front of us and uninterrupted. When I go to look where the thoughts are coming from, and like you're saying, it's not aggressive, it's just peering into that space. And as I do that, they don't come up. And the longer that I do that, they don't come up, which has been the point of the practice for me for a while. But now I want to know, where is it coming from?
Yeah, it would be an interesting exercise for the mind part of your meditation to just ask yourself, where do thoughts come from? And go and sit there at the banks of that thought river. You know what I mean? And see, okay, well, is this where it comes from? And just accept it, yes or no. Because either way, if it's yes or no, it's going to change. It's not going to be the same experience of where thoughts come from today as it's going to be 10 years from now. But to develop some confidence in yourself and your understanding to know where your thoughts are coming from is incredible. It's empowering. And that's that trust element. We've somehow picked up this bad habit of just not trusting ourselves. There's nothing stronger than your own personal instinct and your intuition. This is what has kept the human beings alive for all of these years. Our ability to instinctually act and then finesse those actions with an instinct, with an intuition, which is a higher form of thought process, a higher form of thinking that feels like it's coming from an unknown destination, godlike, which then gets placed on either end of a thought experience. So your thoughts are an amalgamation, ideally, of your instinct and your intuition, which then gives you the ingenuity that you need in order to build this tool, this app, this business, this whatever it may be, in order to further promote and enhance your survival on the planet. So this is very old brain activity pushed into a modern context. You know, that saying, it's a jungle out here. This is truth. This is a jungle we're in. Patanjali is considered to be the jungle doctor who has the elixir to extract the samsara, which is the human conditioning. And a part of that elixir, a part of the medicine, is meditation. So it's a do-it-yourself kind of a program. That was a good one. Let's keep going. Anybody else have any good questions, comments?
I like what you just said about sitting by the riverbank, because the metaphor that came to me before earlier today thinking about this was that, and actually Avshin said that to me one day. He said, Luke, just sit by the river and enjoy the water passing by. And in thinking about that, if the thoughts are like that, then the water in the river doesn't come from anywhere, but it cycles through and it cycles through. So it's, being evaporated and going on the mountain and coming down and passing by to the ocean and evaporation and continuing to go. So
yeah,
is it
the
that
atmosphere.
The thoughts, they don't come from a specific point, they just exist and keep coming, or?
Let's see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So just to go over the meditation, we break it into 4 stages. So the first stage is a meditation on the body. So it's simply creating comfort and relaxation. We want to learn from each part of who we are. So the teacher of the body is teaching us how to become comfortable and relaxed, right? Left to its own devices, it's your mind that says, okay, come on, let's go. Your body would most likely just want to just rest for the whole day, which is great for meditation. We just let it do that. What it's good at, let it do that. Your breathing needs constant attention. It's just seeking the attention all the time. So the second part of our meditation is on the breath. The body is the most gross level experience. The breath is one now more subtle, but still pretty tangible. I can feel it moving in and out of my body. So we focus on the breathing. At first, we can take big, deep breaths, full exhalations, doing whatever we want, but then eventually we allow the breath just to do whatever it wants and become acute at our listening, and allow the breathing for that period of time to lead the direction of your meditation. And then we go to one level even more subtle than the breath, and that's the mind. So this non-local experience, we don't know where it's located per se. It's kind of everywhere. And it's so fine, it is almost unbelievable. So a lot of the information that comes from the mind, we don't believe. A lot of the experiences that we see, we say, this is just my imagination. But we want to get to a place where we can start to trust that experience of the mind. To trust the experience of the mind, you got to get into the space of the mind and away from the thinking pattern process of the mind. So it's the period of our meditation where we are simply observing and watching thoughts and distinguishing that truth, that very simple reality that we are not our thoughts. We are something different, but our thoughts are so powerful and potent that they can actually create an illusion for us for as long as we hold on to that truth of the illusion. So the mental period is to let go of the thinking and get into the quality of the space. The last stage of the meditation is dynamic stillness. So now that's looking, peering into the substance that exists within the space itself. The still part, the stillness. And that evolves very, very slowly. So you may be that person that throughout all of the stages of the meditation, you just feel your body. It's really comfortable, and then all of a sudden it's very uncomfortable, and then it's really comfortable, and then it's uncomfortable, and then it stays uncomfortable for a while. And then it inches back into comfort, and then way into discomfort. That is okay. You are still doing the practice of meditation. No matter what your mind is showing you, you are still getting the benefits physically, emotionally, spiritually from the meditation. So the mind will show you one thing, but the effects are another. And those effects that you're experiencing within your body is the layer of foundation in order to become very strong within your personal experience of meditation. So what I'm saying is, do not see it as being a negative, see it as being a positive. Because then you'll go into the breathing, and then all of a sudden the breath is everything that you feel for a period of time. And then your mind is the only thing that you feel for a period of time. And then the dynamic stillness will come. So for as many people as there are in the room, there are as many levels of meditation being experienced, and we're all doing it at the same time. Please close your eyes. Keeping the eyes closed, bring full deep breaths into the body. Keeping the eyes closed, bring your gaze into the space just there in front of you, and with soft intensity, maintain the integrity of the space, uninterrupted by any other thought. Starting now. Keeping the eyes closed, soften your gaze, and very slowly, very gently, allow the eyes to open. So now we recognize the quality of space that we have found through our meditation practice. And now this is where we move from this place through the rest of your moments of your evening until you go to sleep. And how that quality of space resonates within the physical body, within the rhythm of your breathing, and within the states of your mind. Recognizing the depth that you found within your meditation and the heights that you found within your meditation. Letting go of any pinpoint of information unless it's really revealing itself as the direction or the idea or the insight that you've been looking for. And then over time, cultivating a really strong relationship with this quality of space found within your meditation. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you all next week, if not sooner. Namaste.